Welcome back, everyone. Despite a brutally long series, a slugfest between two very determined and gritty players, they really dug in their heels and gave it everything they had. Despite an extremely long series, that was, of course, a very short break. And we have now got, for me, so far, on paper, it's the match of the tournament. It is Serral versus Classic. I don't know how we bamboozled the A stream into letting us have this one, but I am so excited. How you feeling about this one, Bamwolf?
I mean, I'm mentally, physically, emotionally, I'm not recovered from that last series. And, I don't know that I would call this the match of the tournament. I think that we get Rainer Maru, we get Serral Maru, we get something like that. Grand finals, like there are maybe better options. But this is certainly up there, and this is certainly, as we were looking at it, the 4 games that we knew about going into today, this was the one we were by far the most excited about. So now we get to take a look at it. Now we get to see whether it lives up to the just absolute insane clown fiesta that was a Laser and Spirit. And I'm willing to believe it is, because Steadfast Classic has had the best run that I have ever seen him, well, not ever seen him, that I've seen him do since he came back from the military. He took down Byun 2-1. Who else did he take down? He took down someone similarly impressive. I'm blanking at the moment. He took down Rainer 2-0. There we go. That's just PVZ chops. And now he's running into a Serral that I think realistically, Steadfast, he's been looking great over the last year. Absolutely. But he's looking vulnerable against Protoss in this series. Creator should have beaten him. Apparently Hero should have beaten him. This is not the easy PVZ, easy ZVP that we're used to seeing Serral get.
No, it certainly isn't. I mean, it sounds corny. It sounds like we're just trying to hype the match up, but that's not the case. If you had said before this tournament started, Serral Classic, they're both at 2-0, is a qualifying match, I'm like, okay, Serral's going to easy 2-0 that. It's almost not even worth watching. But given the fact that Classic, like you said, 2-0'd Rainer and did it in phenomenal fashion, especially that, honestly, actually both game 1 and game 2 were magnificent displays of PvZ, and the fact that Serral has dropped a map to both of the other Korean Protosses here in the form of Creator and Hero. And if it wasn't for, like you said, a few missteps, I think that it's very possible that he could have lost either of those series, especially that Creator game 3. Like, Creator really had the opportunity to get something done, wasn't able to do so. But with all of that in mind, that's why I'm the most excited for this match so far. And obviously, if we get a grand finals of Maru Serral, that's going to take the cake for on paper most hype. But for me so far, this one definitely stands tall.
Yeah, so the question now is, as we talk about this series, and we talk about the overall kind of positioning into this tournament and just StarCraft world at large, does Classic's run, if he beats Serral, even if he doesn't beat Serral, does that make him the best Protoss player or the best Korean Protoss in the world? Obviously, Hero is languishing, and I'm not actually. Let me check what his score is. But yeah, he's at 1-2. He's at risk of running out of the tournament after he lost to Serral and just lost to Dark, which is a matchup that he wins fairly often online. Does this make Classic the best? I think if he beats Serral, it does make him the best Protoss in the world, or the best Korean Protoss in the world. But irrespective of that, has he leapfrogged Hero as the results of this tournament continue to happen?
That is the question, isn't it? And I think that if he does beat Serral, at least in my personal rankings, I gotta say, yeah. I gotta say that for the moment, he is the best Protoss player in the world. I think so. Now, there's a lot of ebb and flow. It's just best of 3s, and it could turn out that Hero does end up actually winning the tournament. Even if Classic wins this, maybe he gets beaten in the round of 8, and then Hero, turns on the jets and goes sicko mode and just takes down his opponent really quickly. But I don't know, man. This is a Classic that is looking strong.
Yeah, it's a classic, one might say, returning back to that strength, returning back to that power that we saw pre-military when he was the best Protoss player in the world, where he was Protoss incarnate, the embodiment of the perfect Protoss player. And is he perfect? No, not yet. He is losing games, I mean, no one's going to win everything, but he is, again, looking so much better here. But on the flip side, we have to give Serral all the credit in the world. Yeah, He lost maps. Yes, he could have lost those games against Creator and Hero, but on the flip side, he didn't. He found the moves that he had to do. He found his way back into series. He found the one thing that he had to do to make sure he won a lost game. And that is something that Serral is always, even in games he's down, that's something he has always been so good at. So, and, you know, all-time great PvZ win record, or his EVP win rate. You know, there was a time when he literally didn't lose a series against Protoss for like a year and a half. So, as tempting as it is to gas Classic up and say, wow, he's playing so well, he's running against the one player that is the most, not even standard, the most stable player really in this scene. You know, Raynor is highs, but he will fall down. Rogue wins GSLs and then gets knocked out of round of 32 the next season. Maru doesn't tend to perform especially well offline or in foreign events in the GSL. Certainly, Serral has had none of those issues. And we really have not had a tournament where he really underperforms in 4 years since 2019.
Yeah. And to that point, to specifically his EVP, because we're talking about how Classic does have a chance. He's got the best chance he's probably going to have or has had in a very long time. Now to go to the other end and to reinforce the point you're talking about, I was just looking it up on a Ligulac. The last time that Serral lost to a non-Max Pax Protoss was 34 series ago at Home Story Cup 22 to Zown 3-2, who is now no longer playing the game. And the only match that he lost was a single series between that, and it was 2 Max Packs. It was 2-1, and I believe a Kung Fu Cup. Yes, I think so. But other than that, Serral is 33-1 versus Protoss in the last 34 matches. Like, this is going to be difficult. Now, yes, you can say, oh, you know, some of them are players that we expect him to beat, like, you know, Gung Fu Banda or Shadown or DNS. I feel like I'm bullying the European Protosses. That's not fair. But it's still impressive, and it's still, I want to say at least like 20 of those matches are against players that you would consider to be like GSL top 16 or top 8 caliber players at minimum. It's even with everything we've said, it is still going to be an extremely difficult road. Classic is going to need to play his absolute best StarCraft to have a chance here.
Yeah, and Steadfast, going even closer to home, not talking about Serral versus Protoss, talking about Serral versus Classic in particular. They've played, well, a decent amount over the last years, you know, not as much as others, but again, military in Koreans. Since Classic came back from the military, he has not won a single series against Serral. He has taken 2 total maps against Serral. In that same time, Serral's taken, was that a bunch more, right? They've been actually fairly, a couple best of 5s, the rest of them best of 3s. And in general, Classic has beaten Serral once in his entire life. And that was a big game. That was in 2018. That was the IEM World Championships Katowice in the round of 4. So Classic has that experience. That did catapult him into the finals there. But ever since then, and especially since coming back from the military, this has been very, very much in the camp of Yunus Otala. And I'm not saying it's not possible, because again, we talked about how good Classic has been playing, but Serral has the might of history. He's got the might of just being insanely good at the matchup on his side. I mean, it's in the current form. I mean, Serral's won 90%. You're right. Like 88% of his games against Protoss in the last month. It's very solid.
Yes, it is honestly incredible. He is so damn good. Like, we really can't overhype how good Serral is versus Protoss specifically. And I'm sure I'm gonna catch a lot of flack for this, but you know, so be it. I do think that he plays the matchup on either side about as close to perfectly as you possibly can for his like baseline play. And I think there are a lot of players that do have important holes missing in their play. You know, now what I mean about that is like, let's say for example, what's a good example? Hero Marine. We think of him as extremely good at that like 7 to 10-minute timing in TVP. He's extremely strong there. It doesn't mean he's incapable of playing the rest of the game. He's great at it. But that's where we consider him like ultra elite, you know, S tier. That's where he'd get the 96 from the World Team League. Someone like SOS,
Hero.
you know, strategically. Anything, they have like their little areas of strength. Serral doesn't have any weaknesses, and in ZVP especially, he doesn't have any weaknesses. But there are very few players who go up against him are complete players in PvZ, in my opinion. There are like, I think Stats was probably the last one we had. Hero has some really cool timing, some really great aggression. Max Pax has shown some incredible stuff, and I think he might be getting there. Showtime has some really, really solid stuff as well. But maybe it's Classic. Maybe Classic can take up the mantle as that you know, maybe he does the Avengers Endgame thing and he picks up the hammer, picks up the shield, and is like, I'm the one who's gonna do this. But for now, as we, you know, speak ad nauseum about the game, we are gonna actually head to a brief little break, and we will be back with the match itself pretty soon. And we are back once again. We were waiting on we were waiting on something a little bit funky, but we are getting right into game right now as we have spawning down in the bottom right a highly anticipated match for Twisted Minds. He is Classic, the almighty veteran.
And in the upper left, in the red, the untouchable Zerg for Basilisk, it's Serral. Or the Finnish Phenom, if you want to go. That also works.
He's got a couple of good ones. He's got the Night King. He's got the Finisher, which I love. It's good. I like it a lot. Whereas, of course, for Classic, he's got the Chin Toss, as you know, we're very used to. Now, this is rather interesting. We did see Classic electing to not go for the hatch block here. And Serral, he didn't try and go for any cheeky 15 Extractor Trick 15 hatch. He didn't go for the Eric build or any variant of that. He just goes for a 16 hatch. And so Serral, we would say he kind of wins, quote unquote, the mind game. It's not a huge deal, but it's nice that he gets to do that without altering his build at all.
Yeah, it's interesting too. I don't know how much of this is a prep game, right? Because Serral has been playing that Eric build. He has been going for the gas cancel 15 hatch idea. And so if you know your Zerg opponent's going to go for that one, it's not worth going for the hatch block because you're not going to get it. You might as well be a little bit greedier on your probe timing. And then Serral, if he knows his opponent's not going to, he doesn't have to go for it, right? So it is this very deep mind game. And I don't know how deep this variant goes. Because again, we're in Swiss stage, Steadfast, and that means that, you know, as I say that though, you know, they've had the night to think about this. Classic and Serral, they knew their matchup after the playdate yesterday. So we talk about Swiss stage not giving you a lot of room for prep. Well, this is one of the few ones that it actually does give you that prep.
Yeah, it gives you a little bit of prep, but it doesn't give you enough time to it's not like GSL where they're like, okay, you're playing a best of 5 against X player. You have a week and a half, or even like 4 days to prepare for it. You can really do your studying, come up with builds for each specific map. It's just a very simple mind game. It is a best of 3. And of course, the other thing is too, this is not the only opportunity they have to get into the next round. So I think as far as how deep the mind game goes, I wouldn't say more than like 2 layers deep. Just like basic, okay, I know Classic is a good responsive player. I've been going for the 15 hatch a lot. He's probably not going to try and block that. So I'm just going to go 16 hatch without the Extractor Trick, see if I can get it. And I think that's it worked out exactly according to plan for Serral here.
Although, I mean, you do say that, and that is fair, right? With 2 more series, they have so much room to play with this. But we saw Bjorn throw the coolest build out of, against a laser when he was up 1-0. And it's just just because technically you don't need to throw the weird stuff out because, again, you're not on death's door. It's not against maybe the hardest opponent. We can still see that happen. But for now, you're right. We're not seeing. It's not going all of that deep as Classic opens with a Stargate. Oracle out of that one, second Oracle on the way. So we should see the Twilight get added. But the question I'm asking myself here is whether he goes pure Stargate Twilight, Stalkers, delays the Robo for quite a while, or whether he plays this more kind of modern style that we've started to see some Protosses playing where, you get it's Oracles into Twilight. That's great. But they do level up their tech once again. They do get a Robo, whether it's for Immortals or Disruptors or just for the Warp Prism so they can add in some Archon or add in some High Templar and things and just kind of don't stay at the mid game and go a little bit further. Of course, Hero was the one that had a lot of success on the Robo-list style, but I'm not sure where Classic stands on this.
Classic's got a few different ways of playing the matchup. He will go for, he's gonna try and get in here. Okay, he will go for the +1 Blink Stalker play. Really nice defense, by the way, so far from Serral. He'll go for the +1 Blink Stalker play. He loves going for the kind of 3 base-ish, although you do secure a 4th base while you're doing it, but it's gonna be the quick double Robo Colossus as the transition out of the +1 Blink Stalker. He'll also do some all-ins off of this. But if I know those things, then Serral certainly will also know those things, and he'll be looking for them. Does he have anything super special? I am going to be keeping my eye very peeled on the production tab to see if he does. For now, it's just going to be 6 gates. I think he's just going to go for the blink and the +1 this time. Ooh, Serral will be able to deny that stasis ward. Good job. Prevents it from coming on down, and that's some energy down the drain so far. Yeah, this is just a magnificent defense from Serral and a really great start of the game.
You want to get at least like 3 or 4 drones, more obviously, but 3 or 4 drones if you do commit to 2-3 oracles like this. Classic's finding value with it, denying creep a little bit, forcing maybe drones to be a little bit afraid of the main, even if they don't get much done. But in general, this is not a great start for Classic because, while yes, this is Stargate opener, you can play into the mid game. It's not 100% required that you get damage done. You did commit to 3 oracles, and you want to build that tempo advantage, especially as this is +1 blink. But Steadfast, you also pointed it out. Classic does like that robo follow-up, and we're seeing it here. So it's not quite the tempo build that we saw last year, which is, yeah, you know what? You get 7 workers, you get 8 workers with the oracles, and then you run across the map, you drop a pylon, blink stalkers +1, and it's just wham, bam, bam, bam on the Zerg.
Oh,
Classic doesn't live and die on the tempo like you might have seen last year.
No, not as much. He can still play that style, and he is going to be going for the double forge, despite adding on the robotics facility. We will need to see a really quick 4th Nexus, though. EV is going to want to go for this. However, he's gone very quickly up to a 5th and 6th gas. Hang on, did he just fake the 2nd forge? The Overseer, what did it spot? Okay, we'll see that in a minute, as we do have the Adepts. Did they shade out or in? I think they shaded in. Okay, yeah, Serral was able to pick those off. Serral sees the 2nd forge. Did he get in to see the robotics facility is now my next question. Because at this point, if you see the 2nd forge like that, you're probably going to be... Okay, he saw the single robotics facility. This is going to look like the hero style, but with the alteration with the double forge. I would not be anticipating double Robo Colossus or potentially even double Robo Disruptor. This is a brilliant mind game from Classic so far.
Yeah, and I'm really curious to see which direction he goes, right? Because he can build Colossus, absolutely, but there's a Templar Archive on the way as well, which then, like, you can go Archons, right? Archon Disruptor is a little weird, but it can work out. Storm is really important for both compositions, but yeah, it's going to be double Robo Colossus here coming out of Classic. And normally when you, by the way, Serral did see the Robo Bay now. That's a big scout, and the Observer is going to get out here. This is a timing from Classic. He does not want to go into the late game with this. Once the Zerg gets Hive, Robo units in general, but Colossus in particular, they really start to fall down. So this is going to be a 2-1 timing coming out of Classic when he has 3-4 Colossus, something like that, running across the map, just wants to hammer Serral super hard. But Serral knows that he also has a little bit more time to make that happen. To get aggressive here. He's maxed out here, building a ton of Banelings, walking Queens even forward before this is ready, or be greedier, but this time, right, it is going to be that aggression coming out of Serral. How many? We have 2 Colossus on the map. Extended Thermal Lance is halfway done. Classic needs about 60 seconds to be really happy. Can he find that timing?
That is the question. Can he? 2-1, not yet done. Like you said, Extended Thermal Lance, no 3rd and 4th Colossus. Cool move from Serral. He used Overlord speed to drop creep so that he could get those Queens into the fight and help against the Oracles here and have some anti-air. But so far, Classic, some excellent stasis wards, is set up for the defense. And, oh, look at this. The Queen's getting a little bit far forward on the left side. Will get sniped down. Classic. The Stalkers did go a little bit far, but the stasis wards on the right side are going to be great. We see Battery Overcharge helping out. Stasis wards on the left, finding those Banelings. But is there enough for Serral to break through? Nonetheless, it is going to be close. Banelings trying to connect on the Battery Overcharge. They will get through, but it does get a lot of value. 3rd and 4th Colossus going to join up. This looks like an amazing hold so far from Classic. He instantly starts up the +3 weapons. He instantly adds on a 4th Colossus. What a brilliant defense from Classic there. That was so impressive.
One thing I want to point out here, Steadfast, there was that Colossus that did die on the right side. It was surrounded by stasis traps. Classic didn't bother microing it. He knew Serral was going to try to dive on top of it, and then half of that army on the right side, stasis, unable to fight. So, yeah, Classic lost the Colossus, but he baited so much of that army into just being unable to fight. And the Colossus, even if it died, it got so much damage on the rest. So really nice positioning there from Classic. Excellent baiting. And now, I mean, he's at 160 supply. He's at 2-1, 3-2's on the way, adding in Immortals to deal with these roaches. And we talked about how this is a timing. Well, Serral has no infestation pit. There's no hive on the way. It's do or die right now. Banelings are going to try to find their way in, but the Colossus, they just shred them here. And the roaches, there's not enough anymore. Now Banelings on the right side. Classic handles this one as well. Eight probes go down, right? This is that +2. Oh, no.
Oh, he sent it back too early. Serral microed that Baneling to make sure it stayed alive. Gets so many probes on the tail end. What a heads-up play from Serral. Classic, he didn't need to do that, but oh man, that actually just took so much of his lead away in this game. He still has a devastating 3-2 timing, but
that he
actually,
does.
no, it's still a devastating 3-2 timing. It's going to be a lot of Immortals, a lot of Colossus. Hive is still not even started. We just see the Infestation Pit on the way. Serral, ah, man, that was such a good move to keep that one Baneling alive, and that was the difference, is that little bit of extra multitasking that he does. But can Classic go with this big maxed out, with this huge upgrade advantage and get the job done? Serral is going to catch Classic a little bit out of position. Classic's got so much static defense. Oh, Baneling drop on the third base. Baneling's getting to the middle line of the force. 22 probes go down. But if we look at the army value, if we look at the upgrades, we're going to see that Classic has a huge advantage. Same on minerals, but so much more gas in the form of those Archons. Classic not realizing that all the Banes had been used. He did pull the probes, but it's kind of fine.
Classic's got to go right now, though, right? He just lost.
It's his
25
go,
probes right there.
Go. Do not hesitate. This is the time. He needs to build one if he doesn't have one. He needs to build. Oh my God, he does not have a Warp Prism. He might not even need it, though. 6 Immortals, 4 Archons, 4 Colossus, 16 Blink Stalkers. He's kept all of the Oracles alive. Please, Classic, build a War Prism. He is in such a good position to potentially take a huge upset win in the first map, but he needs to go.
But now Steadfast to start that timer. The Hive is done. Vipers can't. Serral's actually maxed out. He can't build the Vipers that he wants. So the timing actually for Serral here, it's a little bit slowed down. But this is such a scary position to attack into. Baneling's coming in from every side. Colossus are going to try to take the high ground here. There's nothing to save them, but Colossus at the front side, actually, it's lasting for forever. That one Colossus at the front will eventually go down. And Serral there, this is his remax. 686 links. He's going to build Banelings behind that one. No Vipers right here. And there are still 3 Colossus remaining. You need that Warp Prism, though. You're right, Steadfast. You need something to be able to reposition the units here. But this is still Classic's opportunity. Down 20 army supply. This 3-2 timing is massive, and Serral will have to give the base up, which, by the way, is a fantastic move. Serral just has to buy time. He knows the economy of Classic's not incredible. He has hampered that massively. He got a lot of Immortals. You just have to buy time. Get the Vipers, get the Infest, or get Ravagers maxed out once again, because Classic doesn't have that maxed out potential. He's only on 4 bases, and actually, Serral's gonna force the recall back home here. Classic, you need more than this base, but he's not gonna find room.
Okay, so that was a heartbreaking fight for Classic. He microed it really well, spread the Colossus very nicely, got up to the high ground, but the decision to attack on that left side, where there was creep, where Serral could take the biggest possible engagement, the hugest arc, was just not it. If Classic attacks up the right side, he can creep in, kills off that top side center base, kills off the pocket third, and sneaks into the natural. Serral can never get that surround that he was able to get. And, oh, Classic. Okay, Serral with a big potential catch. Is there vision to get back over? Yes, there is. Oh, he's got the Observer. Good. Still, Serral gets a nice little pick, grabs a couple of Stalkers, but that was Classic's moment. Also, the fact that he didn't have the War Prism, he still hasn't built it. He is getting up to a very high-quality army, and am I missing it, or has Serral not actually added on Vipers yet?
No, I've been, as far as I can tell, I've been
Classic still got a huge timing then.
Yeah, there are. I don't know what's stopping. Like, clearly he was maxed out at one point. He couldn't build Vipers. Maybe it was a gas thing, right? He's like, I need all these Banelings, I need these Roaches, I need these Ravagers. I can't afford the Vipers as well, because Classic just was on the precipice of this push. But now Classic, he's up to 67 probes. You know, he's got. It seems like he's maybe posturing for a 5th base. This game is going longer, and Serral is still on that mid-game tech, which is, again, it's not what you want. Psystorm getting added in, Disruptors as well. Classic is, he's very much leapfrog Serral in tech right now. This next push timing is Ling's on the counterattack. Archons and Colossus should be enough to deal with this. This next timing coming out of Classic here, you talked about the 2-1 timing, right? That was strong. The 3-2 timing here. You add a couple storms on top of this, an extra Colossus, some extra disruptors. And even if Classic can't take the 5th, this army that Classic is building against what Serral has, there comes a point, Steadfast, when however many banelings this is, 60, 70 banelings, even that doesn't quite do it.
Well, you're going to need a huge arc to get something done. It's similar to what we saw in the previous engagement. Serral, I mean, I talked about Classic taking the wrong position, but Serral took full advantage of that, and you got to give him props. We do see a huge number of static defenses being rebuilt here. Serral will blow up. That was a lot of buildings. I think that was probably value for those Banes to... It was close. It was close. That might have still been a little bit more expensive for Serral. But of course, Serral's got a much bigger bank, much more economy. He's finally adding on a Hydra Den. Going to probably be transitioning into Lurkers. Classic, he still has some chances, but Serral has gotten a chance to build a gigantic bank. Oh, he's got to be careful with these Lings. Don't want to lose a bunch of those for free. Look at the girth, the bulk of that army. There are so many Archons, so much splash damage. We've got 3 Colossus. I thought I saw a 4th in production. Base did get taken down, by the way. But this is the big engagement we're looking for. Storm, they are going to be very important. Big storms on the Banelings on the top side. On the bottom side, the Archons funneling everything. Huge stasis ward. Another couple of stasis wards on the right side are going to do so well. Storms are going to be pretty good on the tail end. Serral instantly remax. Classic does have 2 more Colossus on the way, but only 1 at the moment. He's going to need to kill this base and get the hell out of there because he cannot survive this remax.
Oh, this is so
nice
hard right now. I don't even
Banelings.
think he's going to get the base. And importantly, he wanted to get the base. He had to move down, which meant that stasis did not get enough. He didn't get it on the backside. Now Colossus running back onto the high ground as far as it can, but the remax here of Serral, you talked about it. It's massive, but Classic's actually near a base here. He's got another Colossus on the left side, and Stalkers as they warp in. All of a sudden, Classic makes that fight look so much better than he was, and he's got 2 Colossus. Just about done, but look at the production tab here, Steadfast. Finally, Vipers are on the way. Finally, we have that solution to this army that Classic's been building for the last 17 minutes of this game, and now recall is spent. So what do you do if you're Serral? You run north side. You try to kill this other base, but luckily for Classic, he's already in position. So the game goes on, and we talked about how Tech got to get leapfrogged. Well, Serral this time, he's now 1 tier even higher.
That is very good. I think the reason that fight went so well for Classic, even though we weren't expecting it to go as well as it did, was the, pardon me, the 3-3 upgrades. We talked about the timing, but you still have this massive advantage in the form of those upgrades. Serral, he didn't have +2 missile during that fight. He's got it now. He's adding +3 missile, but even just the regular units, because Zerg doesn't like getting Carapace, it makes it for a better fight there. Now, something I want to note, because Serral's been so unrelenting with his counterattacks. Oh, hold that thought. Lurkers, they're on their own. Classic's going to move right into him. He's got a lot of these Immortals. Takes down all the Lurkers. The Vipers were not in position, and that's going to cost Serral the base on the top side. That was an amazing move from Classic. Oh, as I say that, he loses the Observer. That's a little awkward, but he's got the Oracle's Revelation, and he already killed all the Lurkers. That is such a huge move. Meanwhile, oh, that's an Artosis pylon. Oh, the static defense goes down. Oh, this base would have been very defensible. But that's, what, 6 cannons? 2 shield batteries? And he loses 14 probes as a result. The recall is on cooldown, like you said. I hope we get the tasteless pylon for this one. On the rebuild, please don't build another Artosis pylon. Give it that backup, that homie. But man, oh man, this game is wild and is absolutely delivering so far.
Yeah, look at what Serral's doing. Every time he knows where the army of Classic is, it's 30 Lings, 40 Lings on the other side. That's a great warp. The Lings aren't going to touch that, well, until they kill the structures. And now they're going to get on top of these Zealots, even with 3-3. Cracklings, Adrenal, so much here. Yeah. This feels like a dead base. Classic's beelining over there. He's trying to find it, but hey, Classic got the 2 left bases on the bottom side. He just killed the 12 o'clock. Oh. And actually, Classic gets back to defend this. So
he does.
Serral now, he's a 5-base Zerg against a 5-base Protoss. yeah, you know what? It's 67 drones, not all that much, and he's remaxed on army, so he can't improve his economy that much more here.
Oh,
How is this game as even as it is?
These guys are well matched. They are very well matched here, but attacking into lurkers is very scary when there's army to buffer for those lurkers. Serral swings back in with these lings again. He is going to need to play a little bit of a base tradey situation. Serral, by the way, did cancel his +3 missile for a little while. He's rebuilt it just now. Classic, nice job right there with the probe. Splits it off. But Serral is still going to be able to get through here. Now, if we click the Nexus, what is the cooldown on recall is my question. Okay, recall is available. Classic, though, he bought enough time to rotate back over. Very nicely done. Still, this game is wild. Vipers on the hunt for a Colossus, but the Stalkers blink forward, grabs one of the Vipers, and now this Viper is marooned. He blinding clouds. It is a completely irrelevant blinding cloud. Serral ends up losing 2 Vipers. That is so costly. He's going to try and turn this into a base trade, but he's out of position in the natural. Lurkers will reburrow, but this is getting so scary for the Finnish Phenom.
Were those the only 2 Vipers? I think they were. And look at the storms here. Classic's just going to engage. He knows Serral is going for that base trade on the bottom side, which means this is absolutely a fight he can take, even without charge. Doesn't matter. He has so many immortals here. There's so much beef. He's going to crush right on through. But Steadfast on the other side of the map. Serral is ravaging his economy. The 5th base is dead. The 4th base is dead. This is the army that we're going to see. Serral, his bank, though, is not there.
It's gone.
He's got 170 minerals. It's absolutely spent 10 Hydras, 4 Lurkers. The only thing that Serral can afford at this point. Is that enough to deal with 4 Colossus and all these Immortals? I don't think so.
There's a lot of Immortals. They are going to chonk very hard here. The one Colossus survived on super low HP. Look at the drones migrating away. They know they've got nowhere to go. Serral is in a really tough spot. He is going to need to drag this game out, but Classic doesn't know about the bottom left base. Serral snuck it in while the army was preoccupied. Classic, though, he's got to be looking around. He revelates the army. Vipers have been rebuilt. This game is nuts right now. Even picking off individual units like Queens off creep is good. Revelation, so good right now. And there's actually no detection to see the observer that is spotting Classic's army. Additionally, Classic has shut down all the creep. I really think this is a huge opportunity for Classic.
Careful.
If he can find those Vipers. Ooh, nice abduct, though. Very nice abduct.
Well, you don't want to take a fight up a ramp like that. That is
No, not up.
7 Lurkers right there. Yeah, no, not with the Vipers in tow. And that's doing such a good job of just defending this base, this most important base out of Serral. Classic is not mining. He's got 1 mineral patch, and Serral, because he got that base in the bottom left, he is in a position where it's Classic who actually does kind of need to get something done. Recall is available, so if Classic moves out, he can find opportunities. I love the little Ling counterattack here from Serral. This is such a complex problem for both players. But Classic's army is more powerful unless Serral is the one who gets Classic to attack into him. Now, the nice thing about this is, Ling, those are some Lurker spines right there. The nice thing about this, Classic,
he plays
on time.
forward.
Oh, he doesn't get the Viper.
Oh, that was so
actually
expensive.
So expensive.
Oh man, it's adaptive talents. You can't do that. That's not the play. Now storms are actually going to be really good against the lurkers here. We'll force them to unburrow, get some really nice storms. Big feedbacks, only able to get 1 immortal. Now I think this is the time for Classic to just go. He drops the storms. He's going to try and get in on top of this, but Serral spreads out into a nice little concave. At this point, the Colossus, can they get the job done? They're actually raining Hellfire on the lurkers. Classic is really starting to push forward. He is on the verge of taking down Serral in game number 1. This is so close to a break.
He's got, look at the storms on top of that one. This is going to have to be it for Classic right here. And he's going to get every single lurker Steadfast. That's the bottom left base available. Drones just have to run, but there's nowhere for them to hide. The Rainy, the Hellfire, the lasers are going to get every single little bit of it here. So it's 22 Lings. That's all that Serral has. He needs to turn this into the base tradiest of base trades, but there's just enough money on 4 probes. Just enough money to warp in some Zealots here to keep that natural, to keep the main base alive. And what does he do now? He's got the 12 o'clock base, but there are no drones to, actually, apparently there are drones to mine from it there. So he's really redeveloped his economy again, but it's 2 Vipers, a Roach, and 26 Ling Steadfast. That doesn't seem possible.
Oh, the feedbacks! And GG! Classic takes game number 1. He was on the verge of victory, but that little bit pushes him over the edge, and he will take game number 1 in the series. What a showing from Classic. He is showing up bigger than he has ever shown up since coming back from the military. It's Classic of old. It's the Classic of yore. The chin toss has returned.
Dude. I think mainstream made a mistake in giving us this series.
Did.
Because
we knew it.
What a game.
Classic playing out of his damn mind. Even this one fight that Serral was able to, oh, okay, we get it very quickly. Serral was able to take. Classic really minimized the problems there by spreading his army so well, getting up to that high ground. We do see this Artosis pylon that was absolutely hilarious, very funny, but obviously it did hurt Classic a little bit right there. The Viper snipes were so clutch. The feedbacks for Classic. This is what I was talking about. The complete Protoss package that you need to be able to hit those feedbacks. You need to be able to spot those transitions. You need to be able to do everything right. And Classic has been doing everything right. And he earned this game 1 victory. The only mistake, obviously, was that huge mainline connection, but he had already gotten himself a really good position. God, I'm so hyped for Classic in this tournament right now.
Man, on top of everything, right? We're talking about, oh, you know, he did all these things right. He beat a late game Zerg army, a late game Lurker army with Vipers, with ground toss, which is technically supposed, like, Serral had, not only did he have all the bases at times, he technically had the compositional counter. He had everything that he needed to make sure that he could beat that army. But, you know, unfortunately, you run out of stuff. You get out traded. Your bases go down. Your opponent just plays the map better, realistically. Hey, Classic, he did the thing. Colossus beat Lurkers that game. And now I'm so excited because I think game 2 is Gressfon.
Well, I wouldn't say that's the thing is you say compositionally he had the counter. He would have if Classic hadn't made the very correct and smart decision to add heavy immortals into his composition. By adding those immortals in, he did 2 things. One, first of all, he knew Serral was already maxed. He knew he had to be maxed to deal with the threat of the push. 2, so you don't need to rush the remax because there's not really any threat of like your opponent adding in stuff. And we saw that the Vipers weren't there in time. But 2, the immortals then check the potential transition into Lurkers. He knows Serral is probably not going to have the money for Broodlords and a meaningful army. Just really impressive stuff from Classic, and he truly earned this game. And I am so excited to see what he can do here because we have spawning down to the bottom right for Twisted Minds. He is the chin toss. He's up 1-0. Look at punch his ticket into the round of 8. It's Classic.
And in the upper left here, into the blue, he's down a game. He's got to take this to take us to game number 3 for Basilisk on the biggest map. It's Serral.
What a showing. Now, okay, it might seem to anyone watching that we're super biased or something like that. No, that is not the case. If anything, when I cast Serral matches, people are always like, why are they so biased in favor of Serral? Because he makes goddamn amazing plays. So what happened in that series? Classic made some amazing plays as well. He did such a good job. Really impressed the living hell out of me with that play. And by gosh, by golly, like I said, he is really showing shades of his former dominant self. And at this point, I'm a little bit worried for Serral.
Now, hold on a minute, Steadfast. You talk about this all you want. Remember, Serral has lost a map in every series he's played thus far against Protoss. He lost game 1 against Hero. He lost game 2 against Creator. And, you know, again, we can make arguments about maybe he should have lost other games in those series. Serral is no stranger to A, reverse sweeping, or just B, dropping a map and still coming out strong in this series. And I think if you're going to do it, this is a great map to start it on. Yes, we love Gressfon. Gressfon has given us some of the most incredible games since Katowice. I think that's a fair statement. but it's also a large map. It's a map that Zergs do enjoy against Protoss because that style that we saw Classic play in the late game, where he's able to ping pong north side, south side with this one big army. Occasional warp ins to defend things, but this one big army, that's a lot harder to do on Grespon. The north side and the south side is so far exposed that it feels like if Classic plays that style, he's going to get just ripped asunder by those late game run bys.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's and you could see even when he was on the ropes, he was trying to spread his opponent out. He was trying to get a lot done with the counterattacks. And, you know, okay, I give up the top right base, but I go down to the bottom left. But on a map like Babylon, it's a lot more cramped. And even with Serral having like the defensive setup of the lurkers, having the plays that he made, it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. Classic got himself in too good of a position. He added those immortals that really gave him the chonk, the beef. He needed the strength to smash through that heavy lurker line. I'm just genuinely really impressed with Classic. But Serral, there are some adjustments he can make in game number 2. Now, will he be able to make them on the fly? That is the big test. So, for example, maybe he doesn't fully max out on supply right away. Or if he does, and, you know, he gets to that situation where his opponent has a big Colossus Force, maybe we see him go for a big 6 extractor trick to be able to squeeze out 2 Vipers. He just needs 6 supply. That's all you need. Because he had the money. Like, money was not an issue for Serral for a lot of that game. But he was playing the mass Ling Bane Roach Ravager with the break your army, I remax, and I crush. And it didn't quite work out for him because the upgrades were so good. There's a lot of reasons why it didn't work out. But if he could have added on the additional Vipers as well, maybe, like I said, with that setup, it's entirely possible that's in a completely different game number 1.
Yeah, I agree. He had the timing. I mean, we talked about it. It's like, oh, you know, the clock's going to start. And then the clock just didn't start as the Oracles, they dive in, they get,
this is already better.
Yeah.
This is already
steadfast.
Yeah, go on.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say this is already a drastically better start for Classic. Sorry, go on.
All good. We're just so excited about how that game 1 happened. The point here is that we can talk all we want about that timing in game 1, right? About the Hive and the Lurk and the Vipers and everything else. I don't think Classic does that again. I feel like that Blinkstalker Colossus idea is something you get away with once in a series. And there's a reason we don't see it happen all that often. It's fragile. It's vulnerable to timings. So Classic, he's put Serral on watch here, right? And he's getting decent damage with these Oracles. Dives in and gets another drone. Ooh, he's not going to find that one. At this point, Jesus, those Oracles. I don't think he's going to do it. Like, I think he's going to go to something maybe a little bit more standard here. But he's put Serral on watch, and that is already going to force him to play a little bit differently, even if it's not something that Classic's going for.
Yes. Oh, Serral. Okay. Oh man, that's actually so good for Serral. So Classic, he has messed around with this style of play a little bit. I want to say I saw him first doing it maybe like 6 or 8 months ago. I think before IEM Katowice, he was messing around with the quick storm follow-up from the Blink Stalker play. The quick 3 bases, you go right up to the 5th and 6th gases. We saw Hearthstone messing around with this a lot. It's a really great style of play, and it has a lot of power, but the storms are tricky to make happen. He did this versus Raynor yesterday, and he did it on Grespon as well, and it does allow you to be a little bit more mobile than the Colossus army, because, of course, you know, without the Colossus, even though they're 3/3 gateway units, you still want to make sure that you concentrate your firepower and have the strongest army together as possible. Whereas if you have like 2 High Templar with an army, that's only 4 supply relative to maybe the 12 supply of having 2 Colossus there. But as I say that, we're going to see 2 Robos going on down. Finally, we do see an Oracle getting picked off. That's actually the first Oracle to die in this series. Serral really trying to be a nuisance with these Lings, but Classics, he's doing a good job of keeping everything alive.
Yeah, this is such a good baseline defense. He really is not committing much of anything, but he gets the 4th base in a really solid position, because that kind of unlocks the 5th base anyways. But okay, so right? He committed to Storm. Storm is done in 6 seconds. He's actually going to have Storm before Blink, which is crazy. But the question now is, is this going to be like Storm, Archon? Yeah, he's going to go double Immortal here. Interesting. And Serral with the immediate scout, Spire response, Hive response here. Broodlords are by far the, if he can get to that, and I think he will be able to because Classic's playing rather passive. Broodlords are by far the best result.
Get this last
Absolute best response to this.
Yeah, if you can get up to Broodlords, they are amazing in this situation. But there will be a big timing where, you know, Class is going to have +2 weapons. He's going to have a really big, beefy army, and he might be able to get the job done. We do see another Oracle getting picked off, and Classic wasn't able to. Oh, look at that. Oh, Serral dropping creep in the middle of the map, showing shades of old school TLO. So creative. Really clever stuff, dropping that creep, and it's going to allow him to engulf this map. Oh, man, this creep spread is actually ridiculous. So nice. We do need to see Classic figuring out that his opponent has gone Hive. If he doesn't figure this out, and he doesn't figure out that Broodlords are on the way, this is going to be a really big problem for him. Because he is committing heavily to the ground setup. Now, you can still go aggressive. The other thing that's missing from that potential timing is the charge upgrade. There's no charge lot reinforcement potential. He might just want to be playing Blink Stalkers anyways, but I do like the addition of charge if you're going to try and hit that pre-Broodlord timing. Maybe he just doesn't want to add it in, though. We'll see. We'll see.
I mean, Classic's getting ready to go right now. His +2's just about done. He's adding that last Immortal. He's adding that War Prism, a couple more Archons, or a couple more High Templar, and these really probably are going to be for Archons. And now he's just ready to go, right? This is his time. He's just about maxed out. The War Prism's going to clear the rest of it, and the Greater Spire is on the way. This is a slim timing, but it's not as slim as it could be because Serral hasn't built any Corruptors. He's left a little bit of supply to make sure that he knows he needs to build ground units. He needs to survive versus he can tech in. And that means that this army from Classic, we're gonna have to see what he can do for now. The storms are massive. The High Templar are going to stay alive here. This army of Serral segmented out on the top side. Again, the High Templar stay alive until that last Baneling. And now there's one storm available on this army, but Steadfast. Were those storms enough here? There are a ton of +2 Stalkers, Immortals as well, Archons on top of this. A lot of Serral's army, it's in his reinforcements, it's in his production, it's not here yet.
That was a really expensive setup for Classic here. There's still one High Templar alive. It gets a decent-sized storm. High Templar getting picked up on the War Prism here. Classic is going to try and reinforce this with the Pure Blink Stalker. He loses the one Immortal, but he's got more reinforcing on the other side. We've got the +3 weapons on the way. That's irrelevant, though, because we got this huge push coming here right now. There's a Spine Crawler for Serral on the high ground. He is really in some trouble. But we've got the Observer spotting from the high ground. The Storm drop on top of the army. He picks it back up. Good split from Serral to get away from that storm as quickly as possible. But that was a really good setup for Classic. And if Classic, you know, puts his thinking cap on, he should know that Serral pretty much spent all of his resources on that defense. And he backs away. He backs away. Serral is going to try and get into the Broodlords now. Classic, he is on 5 bases and 92 probes. Oh, big snipe on the High Templar right there. Nice job from Serral, getting every bit of value you can from these lings. Oh no, the Immortal, no, bad rally. Oh, but it ends up getting value because like 4 or 5 mains just crashed into it.
It's still not great. I mean, you still want to keep that Immortal alive, but you know, silver lining. That being said, Steadfast, you talk about Serral has now, like the moment he realized he'd made that hold happen, he started to build Corruptors. He started to get himself ready for that Broodlord timing. Classic is aware of that, like implicitly aware of this though. He hasn't scouted it, but now we have we have 2 more additional Stargates on the way. We have a Fleet Beacon on the way here. He's getting ready to go into that late game, and while Serral is by far the scariest Zerg when it comes to late game against Protoss, Classic showed us yesterday, he's not that bad. He's not afraid of playing into this. And he has hurt Serral so badly on this army that the transition slow Stalkers should get this base on the bottom side, and it's going to show the Broodlords. So, hey, there we go. Maybe Classic, he's still probably going to go Carriers, but I guess there's a world where he maybe decides to go and go Tempest first. Now the Banelings, I mean, they're going to try to run into Stalkers. That's not what they want here. Classic gets out for the most part scot-free. He gets a base, gets 7 drones. And again, okay, it is going to be that Tempest timing after all. Classic wants to go more tempo.
Nope. Okay, he does actually change his mind and goes for the Carriers instead. I think the Carriers are the correct call. Oh, that's a little bit of an oopsie with the War Prism just flying it right into a Spore. This is something that could have been, of course, a big problem. Oh, okay, he switches back to the Tempest again, now adding on 2 more. So really hesitating back and forth on what to do, adding 2 more Stargates as well. So like you said, it will be back into the high aggressive pacing. He really hesitating a little bit. So it shows even when things look really good for the players, it is so tough to make the correct decision. We do see Serral with a clutch scout, sees 5 Stargates, and will know that that transition is now coming. He's adding on the additional pieces. He's getting these Spore Crawlers, the Corruptors, adding those on the +1 air. I wonder if we'll see a second Spire now. That was a really important spot. Oh, we also see the Burrow and the Pathogen Glands. That is good decision-making here from Serral. Classic, though, look at the bank he's got right now. He has got Serral in a tough position.
What's Serral's army composition right now? Like, that's kind of what I'm trying to figure out here, because we have, I think, 5, 6 Tempests on the map. There were only 3 Corruptors. He's adding more in now, but you gotta, and by the way, no Vipers as well, which is a big deal. No Blinding Clouds, nothing like that. And now 4 Vive Zealot his squad, and they're gonna get on top, gonna try to find that fungal downtown. Gets a couple Stalkers here. But this, we're gonna have to take a look at it in a second. This Zealot his squad might get that Hive. And again, okay, no, Banelings and Roaches found their way in. There are no Vipers on the field, right? You don't have that Blinding Cloud. Stalkers get on top of a couple of Infestors there. That's massive.
Those are huge. Yes, they are. Corrosive Vials not going to be able to take down this War Prism, but that might have been better for Serral that the Warp In went through, because that was a lot of Zealots that died for, I mean, a few Banelings. But at this point, Serral, he is going to need to, if he wants to win this game, he's going to need to win it in a long, drawn-out game. Classic is still trying to crack this game wide open, and he has opportunities. He's got a lot of plays to make. I do like the double War Prism play. He did it before. He's going into it again. Maybe going up to 7 Stargates is a little bit insane at this point, because he's already on 5. 2 more is fast. It's a little much, but he's on.
You know, like 5 Robos, 7 Stargates. This is just classic things. Like, if some are good, more must be better, right? Just make sure you can remax, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, he's on 97 probes. Like, he's got a ridiculous amount of money. Zealots will get intercepted. I do like how Classic, every time that he takes map control or he moves out, he clears out a bunch of creep. Serral, though, has been unrelenting in respreading that as well. This really is a great match between these 2 players, and they're both playing it fantastically well. But now is the test. Now is the test for Classic. If it settles in, even though he has an advantage going into the late game, and it's a pretty significant one, I would say, as well. Can you beat? He beat Raynor in the uber late game. Can you beat the, in my opinion, best Zerg in the world in late game PvZ? That is the big question. Oh, he's going to get into the main base. Will warp in a few Zealots. He did take down that base on the top side. Classic. That's a nice little move from Serral, by the way, burrowing the drones just to make sure they do stay alive. So yeah, it's like minus 400 minerals for Classic, kind of for free. Classic starting to shave off some of his units in order to transition, but oh, nice blink back. Ends up saving the Stalkers.
Does Serral still have no Vipers?
That is correct.
Yeah.
He has not yet added those Vipers. Maybe feeling like he doesn't have enough free supply and doesn't want to go for the Vipers just yet. He's still adding on additional infrastructure. So there we go. Finally getting the second Spire. Great. Once again, I really got to commend Serral on his rebuilding of the creep. We really see a lot of Zerg players losing creep and never rebuilding it. He's rebuilt the creep like 3 times in the middle of the map. Classic will end up losing these Stalkers, but at least this time with the fungal growths not being there, he's able to trade instead of just losing them all for free. Storm drop, very cute from Classic. Gets him 5 drones and a few larvae. Another storm drop. It's double storm drops from Classic.
Triple storm drop.
And a huge one on the top side. He's going to find the second Spire. He's going to find his base potentially. Another storm drop. Classic is popping off so hard.
Oh, he's not going to get the base, though.
He's alive. Oh, Serral keeps it alive.
This is a base, though, that you can absolutely autopilot and go get energy for your Vipers from. And those spores.
Yeah.
Like, you can absolutely accidentally kill that base later on if you're just, you know what, I need spore energy, or I need Viper energy, whatever. Because those Vipers have been added in, finally, in this game. But how do you break Serral? You talked about this a little bit, right? Serral is by far the best late game Zerg player against Protoss in the world. And he has his side of the map. He has that line of delineation that is defended by creep tumors, defended by spores, by infestors, by everything you could possibly want. How do you get through that? High Templars, like High Templar storm drops on the side are fun. Yeah, absolutely. As a double war prism is going to show up, and a cheeky little storm right there. You need 2 to kill those. It's not going to get anything. How do you truly break through this? Because the longer this goes, I mean, Serral's going to have 3-3 eventually on his corruptors. He's going to be able to build whatever he wants.
That's the thing. That's the thing is, at this point, I mean, it's Gresspawn. It is Gresspawn. This is the best map for splitting the map. Serral has recognized that it is going to be a map that he can only win in the uber late game. He did add those Vipers on just recently. He's down in upgrades, but as long as he doesn't die, it's not so bad. This is where we have to start taking stock of the units lost. And Classic, he's been starting to throw Zealots away for very little gain for the last, I would say, like 2 minutes. Yeah, and as a result, he's now down. I'm sure if we looked at this units lost tab, you know, maybe 2-3 minutes ago, it's probably even, maybe even Classic favored. But with Classic throwing away, what, 30 Zealots in the last little bit and not achieving too much with it, I think we're well past the time to stop doing that. He's going to rebuild 2 War Prisms again. He's going, oh my God, is that 4 War Prisms?
Yeah.
Does he still have 2 on the map?
He does, or at least he might have lost 1 on the bump side, but he at least has 1 on the map. Yeah. 4 Prisms.
Classic, no chill.
This makes a lot of sense though, right? You want to have a War Prism with your army, and then Serral's defense is so locked down that you want to make sure having 2 War Prisms allows you to like pressure top and bottom side at the same time. As Classic is now really resetting his composition here, that's going to be a dead immortal. Damage on hatch is nice. Probes go down here as well because at this point in the game, you don't need 97 probes. It's just
you need
it's a little flagrant.
You need a more complex army at that point.
Exactly. You know, one thing I would like to, you talk about Classic throwing some resources away, and that's fair. Although, let's be real here, it's all about the gas count. Really, at the end of the day, it's about how much gas you can afford and how much gas-heavy units you can build for the most part in the late game. But 9 Stargates, by the way.
My God.
Just to point that out. I would like to see Classic continuing to upgrade his ground units, because that seems weird, right? The late game is all about the Sky Toss and the Broodlords and everything else. There can be time when you take a decent fight. There's another storm drop.
Oh, the larva! He did it! He finally did it! Someone finally dropped storms on larva. I've been calling for this from the beginning of StarCraft 2. That was so sick. Feedback on the Viper as well. Oh, he killed so many larvae just now. How much larva is there left? How much? Okay, there's at least a lot on that base. 81. Oh,
you're fine, Steadfast.
He killed like 25 larvae, and there's still 82. Serral's mechanics are so cracked. So cracked.
But I mean, this is maybe a bit of an opportunity here because he knows kind of where the army is. So you push forward. He's actually going to drop. Oh, look at those feedback. That fungal, actually. Serral's not going to commit to it.
2 dead High Templar. The mothership could have saved that third one or that second one. But of course, you know, the little minutia, it is tough. It is tough. But it is important against Serral to make sure you do all the stuff right. The banks are now equal. And Classic is still warping in Zealots, trying to do things like damaging infrastructure. I know that minerals are not the most valuable, but they are important. As I say that, though, Viper does wander a little bit too far forward. A little bit of an oopsie from Serral. Classic is taking one of the contested bases here. We are going to see the single spore will discourage this. I think Serral did build. Okay, he is getting set up for a hive at the natural. Man, his base is starting to get really low on HP. Jeez.
We don't have a Dark Shrine, do we?
I'm good with no Dark Shrine. I think I'm okay. Speaking like, because minerals is one thing, and
that's fair. That's fair.
You got to be careful, but gas is really expensive. Oh, there we go. There's the War Prism finally getting taken down. We will see the High Templar going down as well. We got to be keeping tabs on the resources lost a lot throughout this game. Oh my God, at this point, with the Infestors right there, cheeky neural burrow, steal the Nexus, or steal the probe, build a Nexus. Yeah, we're up
Why?
to 7,000 resources lost difference. This is not becoming a problem. This has become a problem.
I'm curious though, if we could take a look at like the actual the plot of units, or the actual like however many units have died, that thing that goes up there. How much of that is minerals and how much of that is gas? Oh, it's still 3,000 gas. Okay, never mind.
Yeah.
I'm less okay with this now.
Well, I was always not okay with it, but now I'm even more not okay with it. Yeah. Also, we don't have tectonic destabilizers, which is what you do need if you're going to go to that super late game scenario. Have those Tempests be able to chip away at your opponent's static defenses. I think it's really important. And considering the number of bases on Grespon and the number of bases that Classic has on Grespon, there's really no excuse to not go for it. Oh, Rosa Biles just hit. Well, they just hit a lot of Serral's own units. A little bit of an oopsie, I think, trying to hit the War Prism. Even the greatest of our time can make those little missteps from time to time, especially when you're in an unpleasant situation. Another Storm Drop comes in. This time he will lose the High Templar. Unless he recalled that Archon. I don't think he did.
No.
Did he? Wait,
No, it's dead. We're here to die.
Can we battle report? Because I saw that it was in production, an Archon. No, okay, yeah, it did die. Okay, thank you. Yeah, whenever I see stuff off screen, I always want to double check. We do have Serral. We are going to get to a situation where every player has done I like to call it the full Monty of upgrades, which is all 15 possible upgrades you can get, 30 in total. Classic will lose a few probes, but Serral, for this part, he had already built that Roach Ravager Ling. He is okay to trade that out. Oh, DTs are going to come on in. They will find a base, but like I said, it's mostly mined out. Oh, Spires are starting to fall. Hang on. Classic, I was saying he can't just like win it with multitask, but because Serral's bases are so low, it is a problem. Storms do get dodged on the Corruptors. Base goes down in the natural.
But like, as much as as tempting as it is to say, wow, great move, right? I think he got like 2 or 3 hatcheries, and he got a lair. It might have been a hive. I'm not sure. Does that matter? These bases aren't mining anymore? I guess it's a little bit of production.
There's a little bit of production, little bit of money.
Now, this is a base that matters, right? Losing it like that is rough. You didn't really trade out all that well, but hey, that's a trade right there. Greater Spire is going to go down, but already, Serral has more on the way. And actually, he's master. It's going to die anyways. But he's got a second Spire. He's got a Greater Spire on the way. He's rebuilding his tech, but losing a hatch is kind of irrelevant at this point. It's 300 minerals. It's not that big of a deal. As we start to talk about Spires going down, and Greater Spires going down, and Hives going down, and these gas structures, all of a sudden that does start to matter just a little bit more as you talk about things getting rounded out. Tectonic Destabilizers halfway done. We have
there it is,
+2 ground armor just about complete, and 10 Stargates are apparently the answer. 11 Stargates are apparently the answer. Classic, are you ever gonna have enough?
He's got to stop doing this with these High Templar at this point, I think. It's so cool. I love it. It's the like, I don't know what you want to call it, like the double Templar bros. We got 2 DTs, 2 High Templar. Like, it's cool. It's super freaking cool. But
Hitler's dead.
It's expensive. By the way, those buildings bled out. 3 more Stargates. Classic is going to be able to build an entire Skytoss fleet so quickly. That is what he's been playing for. That is what he's been setting up. He's going to be on 12 Stargates, unless I've lost count and missed one of them. But if we take a look at that structures tab, it should tell us, 12 Stargates. More Stargates than gateways. Jeez, this game is bonkers.
So now the question, like, how do you leverage that, right? Is it you kind of play one side? I feel like we're almost at the position where you want to, send the army top side, put your mothership bottom side, and do like the mass recall play, maybe lose the fight, remax 12 carriers immediately, and go to town and just like annihilate 4 or 5 bases all at once. But for now, Classic did get a base. He got the 12 o'clock. He's not ready to do that just yet. But I'm with you, Steadfast. At this point, you want to have 1 Warp Prism with your army. So you can, if you're in a really good fight, you can warp in just a bunch of stalkers and make that happen. But anything more than that here, it just really is feeling like it's not worth all that much anymore. And now Serral, he's going to defend the bottom side. And also because he knows the Skytoss army is just far away. we were talking about at the start of the game, Grespon is such a big map that he is going to trade a base for a base here. And I mean, that felt like it cost a little bit more for Classic than it did for Serral. That being said, Zealots are going to find more hatches, so maybe we're okay. It's actually going to be fairly even after all.
Yeah, their banks are so similar right now. We're now at the point where it's not just about the one big fight. They're going to be able to remax very effectively, and it's going to be about how cost efficient they are after that fight. Also, Classic is now in a position where he might be able to go for that topside base. He might be able to take that away from Serral, and I think that should be his next move. And it looks like he's going to go for exactly that. Broodlord's trying to keep that, spine crawler alive. I don't think they were quite able to do it. Serral is, I don't know why, but he has like 4 Hydras in the composition, which is a little bit strange. Oh, the Infestors could get caught on the transition. Nope, they're going to be just fine. Classic is taking that topside Nexus, and at this point, that is a big problem. But look at that. Serral says, okay, that's fine. Look at how well matched they are for each other right now, taking the bases opposite of each other at the same time. Classic adding on disruptors. Maybe going to be looking for some big snipes on the Infestors with those. Or is it? It could be in response to the Lurkers. Could be in response to the Lurkers.
I'll buy that. So the question now, right? First of all, Classic losing his third is far more impactful because it's a lot of production there versus just kind of just the hatch. But are we kind of at the point where Serral, we're not quite there yet, where Serral would have to give up the main and kind of have to reproduce his production on the bottom side? Because you can get to that point in this late game where suddenly, like, the Protoss army is strong enough, it has this ping-pong ability with recalls and everything else, where the Zerg space on the map has to start to slow down a little bit, has to get just a little bit smaller. But yeah, you talked about it. Didn't we see that Nexus go up? Was it canceled? I guess it was.
It must have been canceled. Yeah, the Ling run by of Serral must have grabbed it. Meanwhile, on the other side, Ling's once again gonna find these Zealots. One Lurker did go down, but if you look at the resources lost again, we gotta be keeping tabs on it. It's now up to 12,000 resources lost difference. If we look at the big one that shows us the gas versus minerals, I think it's gonna show us that. That gap has grown too. I mean, okay, I don't want to say that Classic is in trouble in this game, but he's got to be a little bit more conservative, I think, with the way he's doing this. Man, the burrow play, though, has been so good from Serral. It's probably kept thousands of resources alive at this point from that. And we see the Revelation coming on in, but it bought time for the Lings to save those drones. So nicely done. Oh, Changelings. Okay, Infestors are going to be able to be protected here. There's no Viper, of course, to abduct the Mama ship, so it is just fine. Neither player wants to commit to a big fight. They are both so respectful of each other. DT Blink.
Additional Warp Prisms.
It can be good. The thing, like, Classic is playing like he's literally got infinite money hack, and he doesn't actually. Like, he will eventually run out of resources, and he will do it faster than Serral. But this is a nice find. It does get a couple of queens. Very nice. That is a solid pickup. Ooh, we are going to see the jump on the army. There's the abduct. Mothership left hanging a little bit too much. Minus 400. That's a great pick for Serral.
That it is. And as long as this mothership has been alive for like 10 minutes now, even still, it really has not found the value that you're looking for out of that unit. But Classic immediately pins it up again. Yeah, he's going to get he can sweep. He might be able to sweep a lot of this bottom side down, but it actually seems like Serral was aware of this. So already we see that big blob of Zerg running down to the bottom side. And
this is the problem with losing the mothership. People meme about the mothership as minus 400. For me, I've always thought, you know, the cloaking field's nice. It's the recall, though. The secondary recall. It's refresher orb for you if you're Dota 2. Nice abduct right there coming on in. We'll grab an Oracle and a Tempest. And so far in this late game, we haven't really seen any skirmishes. That's the first little real interaction I think they've had between the two late game armies. Well, I guess the first two. One of them was the mothership got left hanging. Serral killed it. The other one was those two units get left hanging. And now another War Prism goes down. If we battle report check, I think we're going to see that there was two High Templar in that one.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't. Oh, no, it must have been Zealots. Okay, must have been Zealots then. Not so bad. Still not ideal. Classic is doing a good job of like pinching off as much of the map as he can, but Serral is doing a good job of keeping a big area under his domain. And now the banks have swung pretty heavily in favor of Serral. It is mostly minerals, but the gas is not insignificant either. It's like, what is that, a 1,300 advantage, almost a 1,400 gas advantage on the Remax?
Yeah, something like that. As we talk about, right, how important minerals versus gas are, like in this late game, the thing we have to pay attention to is, yes, you know, in general, gas is by far the more important resource in these massive late game armies. But if you can, oh, hey, that's another. There we go. That's going to be another greater spire. And I think the ultra cavern should go down there as well. If you have 5,000 more minerals and you can just flood 5,000 minerals worth of lings after you win a big fight.
Oh, does get an infester. That was pretty darn decent. We do see a nice fungal growth, allows Serral to grab the Oracle and the Tempest. That's very, very nice. And that's what I'm talking about, these late game trades. Serral is a master. He is the king of these trades. The spellcaster control is unbelievable. Dark is, in my opinion, maybe the only player that's comparable in terms of like the pure spellcaster prowess that we see from Zerg. There are obviously some players that are really great at it, but Serral and Dark really, it feels like they're in their own class, and we're seeing him. I mean, in this particular aspect of the game, he is outclassing Classic a little bit. In
terms of active players, or just because I would say Rogue is also up there as well. I mean, or was up there as well.
Active players.
Okay.
Also, it doesn't really matter. We're in this game now. So.
Yeah, the Broodlords are, they look, I can't see what's behind them, but they look rather undefended. But I guess that they feel comfortable doing that because, well, the entirety of Classic's army is on that bottom side. Again, I'm with you, Steadfast. Take advantage of your mobility advantage in this game. Yeah, Zerg has creep, but Mothership has recall. You have recall on your next eye. And we've seen Classic do that with great skill before. But at this point, I mean, I don't want to say it because, again, there's still massive banks here. But we're starting to hit this point where it just feels like Classic's doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. And that he's just not finding it. This base is dead now. The cracklings and the lurkers, you have to spend a recall maybe. But
yeah,
Classic
you don't want to spend the recall on this, I don't think.
The probes are dead. Base is dead.
Oh, that's like all his probes, actually. He does get out with 11 of them, but that was, you talk about cost efficiency versus cost inefficiency. That was very good for Serral. He kills off so much static defense, even not taking the base down. If he hadn't taken a base down, it would have still been, I think, cost efficient because the amount of static defense he killed and the value those lurkers and cracklings get. But he also denied a bunch of gas mining from Classic. Oh, and now he's going to trap these zealots. Man, Serral is doing such a good job in the cost efficiency. If this wasn't Grespon, Classic may have already won this game by now. But obviously, he hasn't been able to do so. And now I would put Serral in a really strong position in this game. Specifically because of, one, the cost efficiency, and two, how well he's been doing everything.
Oh, he's going to get the hive, though. That's nice there for Classic. Yeah, he's going to get that. There was a time when Classic's bank was eclipsing Serral's, and Classic had this massive late game armada. And he had, I was like maybe 9 Stargates at that point, where I was really looking at this and I said, you know, Classic, headbutt, run it straight up the gullet there. Trade your armies, take that fight, because I think you actually can build your army back just a little bit faster and really start to enforce yourself. But this paper cutting, these drips and drabs here, they're just not doing it. So the base that they probably the most important base on the map right now, that north side base that they've been fighting on for so long, again, that's going to get denied. And Classic, finally, he's left about 20 supply open this entire game to go in and build zealots and build run-bys. Now he's filling it with carriers. Now he's really leaning into that late game army because he's taking a look at his bank right now. And he's going to realize he's not mining a lot of money. He's not mining, he actually might not be mining at all. So you have to be even more cost effective. You don't have that infinite money glitch anymore. Build the best army that you can and hope that that is going to be enough here, because as big as his bank still is, this army is insanely expensive. And I don't think that even with that bank, I don't think he can build another one. I don't, this is going to have to be it. You can add drips and drabs, but this has to be his ultimate army.
And think about what Classic's done with that money that he could have used What has he done to actually win this game? Absolutely nothing. He has done nothing to give himself an opportunity to win this game with those Zealot run-bys. Like, Serral was never going to die to them, you know? He was never going to lose the game once he got up to, like, the 6 or 7 bases and we got towards this super late game situation. It's unfortunate because Classic has done so well in this series already, but the refusal, the inability to pump the brakes has been a huge problem for him. And now Serral's Remax potential is so much more significant. And if we look at the resources lost now, it's probably even worse for Classic. We're up to 20,000. Almost 20,000. What is that? 19,200 something?
Close enough, right?
You can't make up for that. It's too much.
Classic does have one opportunity. He needs to win a fight massively, and this army can do that if he's able to counter the spellcasters properly. He got to drop storms on everything, win a fight, force the Remax there. You have to start playing differently. And Classic is, to his credit, he's not sending Warp Prisms all over the place. He's not dropping 10 Zealots into a base to try to make something happen. And in fairness, because he has killed the main, because he has killed so many of these hatcheries, that north side base is just a little bit more available to him. And I think we're seeing him long distance mine. No, he's not. That's a couple links on the north side. But he has kind of the northeast side of the map available to himself now, which does mean that maybe he can start to get a little bit more. But it's always, you cannot let Serral get in this bottom side base. I mean, the banks are already in a horrible spot. Oh, Disruptor.
I like the Disruptor play a lot because it's, nice feedback right there. Grabs, couple of units, huge fungal growth. Is Serral going to go for this? There are High Temple on the back. He drops the Parasitic Bomb. That is going to be a good one indeed. And the Tempests with the Parasitic Bomb and the fungal growths take a ton of damage. Feedback's going to come in on the Infestors, but the Yoink comes in on the Mothership. Classic, both players, man, I really got to give kudos. Both players position that fight so well to have like a nice back layer, but this is where Classic losing all of those units is such a problem. Because if he had done these trades when he was ahead in the game, he could have done this indefinitely, but now he can't afford to keep doing this. They're gonna both rebuild their units at the same rate. Or sorry, they're both gonna deplete their banks at the same rate, but Classic's just gonna run out so much faster. Oh man, this is so sad. It's not over yet. It's not over yet. But Classic had this one by the short and curlies. Oh, we are gonna see fungal growth coming in once again. Oh, High Templar does get sniped. Big fungal growth, but the big storm and the Corruptors are gonna be pretty good. Oracle did go down. Those are the storms you need on the Corruptors. Those are some big storms. What's the High Templar count?
So here's my question, Steadfast, as it looks like it's going to be 4 High Templar. Classic's building Void Rays and Tempest. I feel like at this point, I mean, that's going to be a juicy storm. That's a bit of a, it's not enough yet, obviously, but that's a little bit of a mistake there from Serral. I mean, he's going to mass transfuse as well as he can, but there are not a lot of queens in this army. His max army has like 1 or 2 queens in it, maybe. It's not much more than that. So I guess the play is you want to be on like 5, 6 Tempests to make sure that you can one-shot the Broodlords on the kind of the trading fight. You add the rest of them into Void Rays, just again for that added anti-armor damage if you can avoid the fungal corrosive parasitic bomb combination, and you pray. That's just gonna have to be how it is. Classic is trying to take this bottom side base that has just been so heavily contested here as Storms deal with the rest of the Changelings.
That's so nice for Serral. Oh, yeah. Man, I hate when Protoss players storm Changelings in the late game. You need the energy for the actual spells to do real impact. Please do not use them on Changelings. Every Protoss who does that, look in the mirror and say, I will never do that. Do that 25 times every morning, 25 times before you go at night. Please no. It's so wasteful. You have to just click them down. But at the same time, I understand it's easier to do that.
Well, on top of that, you feel like you have to burst them down because you don't know where the Vipers are. And one of the things that the Changelings can provide is, okay, I know where the army is. It's an easy abduct, time and time and time again, because the Changelings will lead that army. So it's like, I don't know that I have the time to, like, if they're going to go for it.
The Mothership provides cloaking.
That's true,
but Everdyne's got a big fight coming on in. Storms on the left. Mothership does get abducted. The Parasitic Bomb, Fungal Growth combo. It's a good split from Classic. But, I mean, the carriers take a lot of damage. Does Serral want to go for the re-engage? I wonder if there's any High Templar available. There's a Changeling that spots this. I think there is no High Templar available. Uh-oh. Classic. Oh, okay, he cannot sit here. If he... Oh, okay. No, okay, no, there was... Okay. As long as there's High Templar, you're okay. You cannot fight without the High Templar. You need to be able to storm the Corruptors and keep them off your carriers. Oh, and there's more in reserve. Like... Oh, so smart, Classic. Oh, and now he's reinforcing with Void Rays.
I think he actually kind of forgot about him. There were 4 High Templars just at the base that's getting attacked right now, just sitting there on full energy. So maybe he was just warping them in very far away. But anyways, they're part of the army now. He's got 5, as you said, 5 Void Rays on the way here. And he knows Serral has to push this bottom side base because, like, this is mining. So he's going to move top side. He's going to contest the other base. But again, we need to see a good... You can't trade hatch for next. First of all, hatcheries are cheaper. They're 150 minerals cheaper. It's a little bit easier there. And on top of that, again, Classic, he's got 1,000 minerals in the bank at this point. He really... We're starting to hit the point where you lose all the interceptors, you can't remake them. Like, we're starting to hit the point where you just can't resupply the army the way you would like to resupply it. So now Classic, this is... We talked about it earlier. This is his last army. 677 minerals, less than 3,000 gas. Serral, though, I mean, his gas count, 7,000. That's enough for probably 1 remax. So if Classic can win a fight well enough, maybe there is still some Protoss hopium here. But, I mean, you're right. This has been Classic. He's been playing the last 20 minutes to not lose, not the last 20 minutes to win.
Well, no, I mean, he has been playing to win. It's just that he's been playing to win a different type of game. He's been playing to win a game where he, like, breaks through and kills his opponent, instead of playing the game that Serral was already prepared for. And now the Changelings do spot the army. Big storms on the Corruptors, but it's a couple carriers going down. The Corruptors are able to get out of there. Nice Abduct grabs another Void Ray on the chase. And Classic, he is out of minerals. Oh, man. Yeah, he's adding on Archons. He's going for it. This is maybe his... this is like his last army, really. He needs to catch Serral. He needs to catch Serral slipping at this point. That's the only way. That's the only way. I like that we've seen transfuses on these Corruptors. Very nice decision. The Mothership is going to pop out pretty soon. I mean, maybe the way long ago was go full Fist of Need, get a ton of static defense. But what we've seen from Classic hasn't been it, unfortunately.
Okay, so that's a nice feedback start here. Oh, Fungals! Massive Fungals there. 4 High Templars should just go down immediately. Now, I do like what I'm seeing from Classic a little bit. He's got so many Void Rays, they're not with the army. They're half a screen away. They're fast. They can join very quickly. And the goal here is to bait Serral into a fight, then join your Void Rays in after all the Spellcaster energy has been spent, and then hope that the Void Rays can survive into that fight. It's still very, very hard here. That Zoning Storm doesn't find what you want. And yeah, I mean, now Serral knows where the Void Rays are. That trick doesn't seem like it's going to work as well anymore.
That is actually a really great point you just made. Like, the Void Rays were kind of hidden there, and now they have been revealed. So maybe Classic would have been able to bait Serral into a fight where, you know, he commits in and a bunch of those units go down, like a bunch of Corruptors dive the carriers, and then all of a sudden, you know, 8-9 Void Rays show up. They prismatically align. The Spellcasters all have their energy gone, and the Void Rays come in and just smash everything. That is now off the table. Also, Classic, 2 minerals now in the bank. He cannot build another unit. He doesn't have probes. This is all you see is all you get. Serral still has a 9K, almost 6K bank. Classic, I mean, I've said it for a while, but he needs to get it done with this army. Also, I want to see how many Zealots have died in this game, because even if we subtract 50 from that number, yeah, let's say 187 Zealots. Even if you could add 13,700 resources back to this bank for Classic, and he might have achieved a similar setup. Maybe even if we just do 36 High Templar went down. Well, those, yeah, actually probably lost he probably lost a good number of them on those storm drops as well, which I was applauding. I do like the idea of going for Larva. But I don't know. It's tough. It's really tough. At the same time, I don't want to be too critical of Classic because he's played a great series so far. This is Serral playing out of his damn mind.
And again, there is a world where and I'm not just trying to be, you know, Protoss, Copium, Hopium, whatever. There is a world where Classic still takes this. The gas army of Serral. He's thinking about it. He's thinking about it. Okay, there we go. That's on the Oracle. They're so important in the late game. You need that
How many
vision.
oracles are left?
One nice.
Is there only one? We got to look at the, yeah, keep up the units tab for sure. Only one oracle. Without oracles, you can't do anything about trying to push into this army. That single oracle. Oh, that's, nice feedback. But the High Templar goes down, and feedbacking Vipers does not kill them. Unlike feedbacking high, full energy infestors. Oh, another fungal growth coming on in. Good chain. It is a big storm on the Broodlords. Ooh, is Serral going to pull the trigger? Is he going to go for it? That might have been a little bit too far. Broodlords do get time warped. Classic, this might be the instance he's going for. Oh, there's an abduct on the Mama ship. Classic is going to try and smash his way through. The Corruptors on the top side. Parasitic Bomb will hit the carriers. The Void Rays pop the prismatic alignment, but there just isn't enough here for Classic. Even losing interceptors is irreplaceable. Serral still on a 6K, 3K bank. He is going to get a good enough fight. And there is nothing Classic can do. The huge fungal growth, and it's all over. Serral, after 49 minutes on Gressvon, is going to take this one down. Even a couple neural parasites to boot. GG gets called, and that's why we call him the finisher.
Yeah, you don't. There are two things you don't want to do, and one of them is taking Serral to that late game as a Protoss player. It's just the man probably has more experience playing in that setup than I think anyone else, and I think you hit the nail on the head here, Steadfast. Classic thought he might be able to break it before he got this point. That's why he was afraid. That's why he was okay with throwing money away. He was okay with the Zealot run-bys and the Storms and everything else, because the entire point was to win a fight. The entire point was to win a game before it got to 49 minutes, before it's all into mind out. And then you start to realize, and we saw Classic do this when he built those last 3 carriers and maxed out. Like, oh crap. Like, I don't have money anymore. This way I'm trying to play, this out multitasking, out prong, playing on the edges of the map is not working for me. And then at that point, not like probably 30 minutes in, you start to realize that you just do not contest Serral in this style. It's just not worth it.
Yeah. I mean, all of like the little things that Serral needed to be doing, he was doing them just a little bit better. Something we didn't talk about was the fight for creep in the middle of the map. Classic kept trying to find openings to get through, but Serral did not allow him. He never gave him the chance to wipe out that creep in totality. Just an amazing game from Serral. Honestly, like a great game from both players, but Classic, he needed to recognize that that was going late a lot earlier than he did. And even after he realized that, like, he kept throwing Zealots away for a very long time. Imagine that same situation. What Classic just has so much more money in the bank, and he trades evenly. He can do it. I think Classic could have won that game from what? Let's rewind to maybe the 15-minute mark, 17-minute mark. I think he would have won that game if he could have kept the trades even.
Yeah, I'll buy that one. But we can talk about that last game as much as we would like. We have the 3rd game in this series. You win this, you move on to the playoffs in a high seed off that 3-0 match. So looking to fight it, looking to do what he did in game number 1. It's Classic.
And his opponent spawning down in the bottom right with an absolute brilliant performance, managing to outlast his opponent for Basilisk. It is Serral.
So Steadfast, if you're a Classic fan, the fact that Dragon Scales is map number 3 has to make you a little bit happy. Because it's not Altitude, it's not Ancient Cistern, it's not Gressvon. It's a map that Classic can go for those timings. He can go for a Blink Stalker and actually really start to ping pong around the map. He can go back to that Colossus idea maybe. He can play ground toss and not have that massive timer because, again, killing a Zerg on Gressvon, killing a Zerg on Ancient Cistern is just so hard.
Well, killing anyone who goes super late is so hard. And that's why I pointed out, like, it's so important to go for the like recognize your win condition at the right times. Let's say he does that same thing on Dragon Scales from the same position. I think Classic wins playing almost the exact same way. I think he was far enough ahead. He could have out-rotated a lot more. He could have done a lot more things, but you can't, unfortunately, you can't do it that way on Grespon when your opponent has already settled in. And there were some timings where Serral could have gotten wiped out by Classic if Classic had really committed to pushes. Now, I'm not saying it would have happened for sure, but I think he would have had the opportunity. Very unfortunate that he wasn't able to capitalize on his advantage. By the way, we've got Classic. That's cute. He puts the second pylon in the natural in an effort to hide it. So let's say Serral goes into the main base, looks for that. He's going to expect that there's a proxy Stargate, but neat little move from Classic. I like that he's doing little things with the mind games.
Yeah, even as the game is very standard, and I guess the big difference actually is that we saw he actually was able to hatch block in this game number 3. The first 2 games, Grespon's a big map. Didn't even try it game 1, but I think looking back at the replays, you start to realize that, okay, Serral's not doing the eggs build. He's not doing the 15 gas cancel idea in this series, so you might as well try to punish him for that one. And while Steadfast, I don't think that's going to give much opening. Like, it's not going to be... I don't think Serral's going to lose, say, drones to Adepts or something like that. The very fact that your drones have to run from the main to the third is an economic hit. It does... You do lose a little bit of mining there, and Adept tries to find... Again, it's not going to get much. But look at this. It's a Void Ray out of Classic in this third game. That's... It's not out of... It's not massively... it's not like we never see it, but it is just a little bit uncommon.
It is a little bit uncommon, but I think against many players it can be quite good. Against players that switch it up and will send a second Overlord across the map, pretty frequently, or even like 10% of the time, it's pretty good. But Serral, I don't think he sends the second Overlord across the map almost ever, which makes it a little bit more difficult to find the value. Now, Classic may have been able to mark that there was an Overlord on the left side, kind of on that high ground peninsula. Might be able to do something with this, but we will see. Now, behind this, after that Void Ray got the Overlord pick off, and maybe that was the play, is he wanted to deny the scout on the natural expansion gases as quickly as possible. It's double gas, and it's going to be a quick fleet beacon here. All right. This is pretty nifty here from Classic. Second Stargate coming on in as well. Maybe he actually put that pylon in Stargate there to get the Void Ray to the natural as quickly as possible, so he could actually snipe the Overlord more quickly, so that he could get the gases more quickly, so we could start this transition more quickly. How many times can you say more quickly in a sentence?
I can say it more quickly. The question, though, is what variant of this? What variant of Double Stargate? Obviously, there's a fleet beacon on the way, so the question is, like, yes, we're going to see carriers out, most likely. But is this going to be the 2 carrier in the ground? Are we going to see Twilight go down after this? Or is this just full send? I didn't have enough fun in those last 50 minutes, so I'm going to do it again. Let's go full send, immediate sky toss all the way.
That is a good question. It might just be like a 4 carrier time and go from there. We don't see any +1 air weapons just yet. Serral, though, I was just going to say, this is some weird gas timings and a weird Roach Warren timing. This looks like Serral wants to go for it here. Classic, I don't know if he scouted the Roach Warren. I think... Do we have Overlords moving through the middle of the map, or are those Queens? There is something moving a little bit north. A little bit north. A little bit further north. Okay, Queen's already forward. Yeah, this is a huge commitment from Serral. Classic is going to have 2 carriers out very shortly. Now, they won't have a lot of interceptors, but the Queens are going to be awkward and clunky against this. Classic hasn't seen it coming yet. He's only got the 1 shield battery, and it's rather exposed. Okay, he does see it now. The creep from Serral. He uses this 3rd base to boost his creep very far forward. The carriers, though, they could be exactly what the doctor ordered. Queens are immediately going to turn around. Serral is going to already potentially... Oh, no, he drops the creep. He's going to be able to transfuse these Queens. Ooh, that's big.
That fast. Hark ye back to a year and a half ago, prior to the patch, the double Stargate meta. It was all about Roach Queen Ling walks against the Void Rays. And, Zest in particular, one of the things that he was doing to try to figure out how to deal with this, He was going this carrier build, and we see it right here. The Queens, especially off creep, they have zero chance. They're not going to kill this. So this is a massive commitment from Serral right now that he continues to rally into just a little bit. Yes, there's a Spire on the way behind this.
Oh, no. Oh, he just grabbed 2 mineral lines. Somehow, Serral showing a little bit of, looking a little shaky there. We do see a Spire coming in for Serral, but his worker count is so much lower than it should be. Classic, he's not even going to need to Revelate. Serral didn't drop creep tumors. I thought for sure he was going to drop creep tumors. He will try and get in on top of this base. The carriers are out of position. That is going to be a pretty decent find. The units were not in their little cubby holes. So Serral gets at least a little bit of value from these lings, but make no mistake, Classic's in a really good position right now.
I mean, that was a desperation move from Serral. He understood that if those four carriers ran across the map right then, there was no world, absolutely no world where he was going to be able to deal with it. So he needed time for more Queens to pop out, to wait for that Spire, to get spores. But here comes Classic anyways. He's got 4 carriers here. He's got the high ground position. There's still a lot of beef, a lot of energy to burst through with those Queens. But notice, Classic's just targeting one down. He's just targeting down the high energy Queen. So a lot of this Queen energy already spent, but I think most of the interceptors are dead now. So Classic's gonna have to back up, go again. And look at this behind this, +1 air weapons. He's got Blink on the way. Serral's gonna commit to the Corruptors because he has to. And this ground army that Classic's getting ready to build as he drops gateways, as he drops the Templar Archives. Serral is not gonna be ready for this, assuming that well, he's gonna cancel the 5th base or the 4th base for now, assuming that the Classic's able to run across the map and put this pressure on.
You talk about Serral under the gun doing what he needs to do. He is in some big trouble, and I don't think he's out of the woods yet. But already two clutch Ling run-bys have really helped mitigate the difficult position he's been in. And the fact that the first one is what opened up the second one. Even though he didn't get a ton of damage, the units were not in position, the gateway units for Classic, and so he loses them all. Doesn't replace him, and as a result, that leads to the death of the 4th base. It has to be canceled. It may not seem like much because we just had such a long game, but this is a game where neither player's got a big economy. Serral particularly has a very poor economy, so doing what he does to even the game out is going to be big. However, he's going to commit to a big attack, but I think there is going to be, I think there's going to be Archons here. Plus,
yeah,
oh man, so many upgrades about to finish.
Yeah, just Classic needs 20 seconds. In fact, it might just be worth it to give this base up, to buy yourself the time that you need, but he's going to commit to it right here. Overlord's going forward, just, I guess, to mess with, well, also for creep, but just to mess with the AI a little bit here as the Corruptors sitting on top of this army. This is a hard push coming out of Serral right now, but look at the storm! It's massive! And there's a second one here as well. You can't transfuse through that, not at all. So here comes Classic again. The storms are gonna get dropped, and the Corruptors, they just want to dive on top here, but it's not gonna be worth it at all. Look at Serral's army. It's evaporating. I don't know how many interceptors we have, but there are Stalkers on the ground. They got +1, they got Blink here. That transition we were talking about, it seems like it's just gonna be barely enough. And now, Serral, he's lost his Queens, he's lost his Corruptors, he's lost so many Overlords as they have to run away, and the Roaches as well. That was, Serral hit his timing 10 seconds too late.
Yeah, I mean, he still managed to make that look scary, but Classic, he gets up to the storm, he gets up to the Blink, to the +1, the +1 air. That was like so many upgrades. You really said it best. 10 seconds was all he needed to do, and Classic got up what he needed. Serral, I mean, at this point, I was going to say maybe the only way he can win is to drag this out to the late game. I don't think that is... He doesn't necessarily feel that way. I don't know. He's building more Corruptors. He's only on 68 drones. Classic's on 80 probes. The only thing I'll say is that Classic did lose a couple of carriers there to, I think, Corrosive Biles. He maybe could have come out of it with like 5 or 6, but he's still in such a good position. And now is the time where you want to go as you max out as Classic. You do not want to hesitate. This is where you need to have that killer instinct. I think just add on like maybe a few. Well, he's going Stalker Stalker Storm Carrier. He is not going to add on Archons. This is interesting, but I suppose there's no Banelings. Yeah, that's going to be pretty fine.
I think he's just going for the max out timing. You know, he's at 180 supplies. He's going to have +2 in just a second. I mean, Serral's going to try to snipe a Nexus here, but no, not with that many Stalkers on the map. So now, Classic 10 supply off max, +2 done in 20 seconds, give or take. Here, his Lings are they're not even going to get the pylon. So this is Classic's time. He's on, what, 5, 6 carriers, something like that. So many High Templars, so many Storm available. The one thing he's missing, and he needs to join the army right now, he needs that observer. There is so much creep on the map. Serral really needs to be able to, or Classic really needs to be able to do with that one. Meanwhile, Serral is trying to move into the late game. We see the Spire, or we see the Hive on the way right now, but here we go. Blink forward, Ravagers, Roaches fall. And look at that, behind the Corruptors here. They want that carrier. Classic's not gonna let him have it. The entire army's here, and now this run by, Steadfast, this run by is nice. It's probably gonna cancel the 5th base. I don't know that it matters.
No, it's just hoping to cause Classic to make mistakes. Serral knows he cannot fight this army. At this point, you either need Lurkers or Broodlords to fight this army. Oh, or some big corrosive biles. He does kill 2 of the 6 High Templar. That is a big start for Serral, but he needs to kill, I think, maybe every High Templar before the fight breaks out to have a chance in this fight. This army is so much higher quality on paper for Classic, but Serral, he starts it off with a good Kobe Bryant-esque shot on those corrosive biles. Ooh, Classic. Oh, where's the Storms? Not dropping them on the Corruptors. There we go. Finally does now. High Templar are going to get some big Storms. Classic, he doesn't even need the carriers. He's warping Stalkers right into the fight. He blinks forward. He is going to take down Serral 2-1 and advances into the playoffs. A big moment for him. And in my eyes, he just became the best Protoss player in the world.
Dude, what a run. He takes down Beyond. He takes down Raynor, and you know what? Cherry on top. He's already had an incredible run, right? Already he's done great. What do you do? How do you want to move into the playoffs, Steadfast? How do you want to make that happen? You kill, in many people's minds, the best player in the world. A Ligulac, consensus best player in the world. More world champions than anyone else. A player who just won the most recent major tournament, and you do it in style. I mean, the cojones to go double Stargate in game number 3 here, after how game 2 happened, with that just that insane late game, and you play a style that can lead right into it. I mean, the serious planning from Classic here is just fantastic.
Absolutely brilliant. And the fact that he did lose that game, man, those Storm drops were cool. I really wish that, like, they didn't end up leading to his downfall. But the fact that he did end up losing this game after being in such a good position, and he's still able to rally back in and get the win against Serral in game 3, who we know on LAN is nails. He's got ice in his veins. That is one of Serral's superpowers, is to never get flustered on LAN. The fact that Classic is able to deal with him after that is so bloody impressive. And I really gotta say, he has earned this one, and I am so excited to see what he can do in the playoffs.
Yeah, and by the way, we should point out that Classic has advanced. He's one of the first 2 players to advance into this tournament. The other one's Maru. Serral's not out, not by a long shot. He's sitting at 2-1, which means he has up to 2 more series to advance through. But I mean, Raynor is also 2-1, and you know who gives Serral conniptions? Raynor is a pretty solid matchup for him as well. I don't know, right? Who of the 2-1 players Serral is going to run into eventually. But Serral, again, far from out, but the story of the day, the headline that you put across the New York Times is Classic is back. Classic has the best run of I mean, okay, granted, it's group stage. It's Swiss stage. This is not Katowice, though. We can't quite say that. But I put this, I think about this. I'm like, well, Oliveira took down Raynor, Hero, and Maru. It's not quite there. Classic took down Serral, Raynor, and Beyond. But I mean, it's not far off in terms of, like, off the top of my head, some of the best runs that we've seen in the last couple years.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic stuff. So impressive. You know, Classic, I really feel like this could be his tournament. This could be his tournament. I'm going to echo it now. I want a Serral Maru finals, or sorry, classic Maru finals. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for that. That's, to me, that's the two players that are playing just so damn well right now. Regardless, though, we're going to go to a little break. We've still got 3 more matches here on the B stream. I believe we are covering we're covering an elimination match between Clem and Oliveira. So the winner of that stays alive, goes to the final match, that do or die match. But this one is whoever loses goes home.